Hello, my good friends. Here today with you is John Connor. Today, we are in a legendary country that is known to everyone worldwide by the Hollywood films, the United States of America, of course. Let's walk together through the center of New York City and see if everything that historians taught us is accurate. We will see real pre-mud flood buildings that are buried up to 6 meters in the center of New York City. We will see buried floors, windows sticking out of the ground, and doorways made from old windows, and a very common to us an antique Roman architecture. Other words, we will see what's left over from after a worldwide cataclysm that happened about a few hundred years back. Also, we will walk through some of the oldest streets of New York City, see the remains of old star structures, find interesting facts about Napoleon's War that happened here in 1812, but now under a different name for some odd reason. We will also need to go to Brighton Beach in search of some old antique structures and Slavic statues of the previous world thrown around the coast. Alright friends, are you ready to completely change your opinion about the United States of America? I am inviting you to New York City. The War of 1812. The War of the Russian people against the French. But 6 days before, the gigantic army of Napoleon took over River Nemon and started its way to complete destruction. Many miles away over the Atlantic Ocean waters, another war has begun. The war that nobody taught us about in school. The Anglo-American War. Another coincidence maybe? Or maybe it's not a coincidence at all. I checked the dates, and according to all the war conflicts of the second decades of the 19th century, we get this picture. The Anglo-Netherland War. Anglo-Swiss War for Independence. Mexican War for Independence. Argentina War for Independence. Korean Revolution, Venezuela War for Independence, Second Anglo-Ashanti War for Independence, the Paraguay War, Anglo-American War, the Norwegian War, the Anglo-Nepal War, 100 Days in France War, and this isn't it from the large list of wars. As you can see, about 80% of the wars are either from the Spanish or the English military. As far as territory goes, almost half of the world was on fire at that time period. Historians took their time on telling us the truth about these wars. I don't want to waste too much time on the wars of that time period, but let's talk about the war in America that is also called the War of 1812 that we don't know much about at all. Welcome, New York, the city where you can easily fit the country of Switzerland, the city that opens up to the Atlantic waters, the center of where all the world's economy lies and where all the economic politics rule the whole world. But let's leave all that aside and let's see if this is a modern day megacity or is this where we'll find signs of an ancient previous world. Friends, you see these big columns behind me. This isn't Rome though, this is New York City. For us to understand some of the history, we will need to know the following historic reports. 1612, the first visitor. An Italian ship captain with his crew park near the coast. They meet some Indians and also hang a Galician flag. The Indians helped them repair their boat and sent them on their way. But they returned and started to fight for the lands and territory. One great day, some of the capitalists came up with a great idea to buy off the land for 24 US dollars. This is what Wikipedia is saying about the amount the Europeans paid the Indians for the territory. So what would the Europeans build at first? They built a star structure. But how did they get the building material to the fort? Or what kind of technology did they have to mine rock to build with? Either way, nothing's left of the fort and there's nothing for us to look at. But what was the reason for the Europeans to move to the area? Obviously it was for trading. But what do you think they traded? Well, according to Wikipedia, they traded furs and other materials. So they would travel half of the world and build ships and huge forts just to trade some furs and other stuff? Interesting, but okay, we could leave it at that. The official story is obviously made up for the masses to believe. According to the original story, nothing interesting went on until the 15th century. Well, besides the naked Indian butts, of course. How about we take a look with our own eyes and keep in mind what we already know about the real history and what we learned from my films and the films of my colleagues and figure out what is actually going on here. The first question is, in the city, is there buried windows? See those two little windows there? And that's the ground level. Now as you go down these steps, two more little windows. And when you go down these steps, here's a floor. That's it. That's the magic. There's a floor here and windows on ground level. And this is the building where you see the buried windows. As you can see, there's a first story, second story, third story, and as you can see, the very top is already modern buildings that was built on top of it. So as my previous research shows, it's the same thing, buried floors. This is the center of New York, and looks exactly like Europe. And yes, maybe the Europeans came here and wanted to build stuff to look like they were at home, but I don't believe that it's just a coincidence. See, you could see there's a cut right there in the window, inside the door, and as you can see, this is like a Gothic style architecture. First floor, second floor, and then on top is already the modern building that they built on top of it. I think these are the skyscrapers of the previous world. Check out this building here. 2 stories, huge windows. Another basement floor, and it's buried. Who builds basements and buries them? Makes no sense. As you can see, they built some stairs here, and you can see more windows that are buried. 100% just buried. I think this is the first story here, and they just built it on top. I believe that people that moved here, they found the buildings as is and just built on top of it. But I feel like the Europeans came here and they found the city already here. As you can see, the top stories are very ancient. Guys, just check out this architecture. Just like 2 drops of water, this is the same European or worldwide ancient style of buildings that we always see. These videos are from the lower part of Manhattan, where the Amsterdam structure was first built. Seems like no one's even trying to hide anything. I mean, check this out. This looks like our European buildings. They made a door and a window and painted it, obviously. You could see basement floors with windows that are buried. And no one's even trying to hide this. Check this out, guys. Over this little fence, more windows. I mean, who builds like that? You could see it's obviously an ancient old floor. Looks like it's about 6 to 9 meters deep. Very deep, actually. Some deep windows. I mean, think about it, guys. It's very interesting. One window. Check this thing out. It's huge. Big window. 1, 2. 2 windows. 2 windows. This is just insane. This is the center of Manhattan. Check out this size. On this side, I mean. As long as I don't lose my phone out here. But also you could see them covered up here with brick. Look, a window covered up right here. And then this looks like there used to be old steps. They removed the steps and covered up this old door. You could clearly see that used to be an old door with a metal cage. Of course, many of us already know about the mud flood and ancient buildings and about the windows being buried. But please be very patient, and I can assure you that the second half of this film will be very interesting and you'll see a few new things. Whoever is new and watching this for the first time or from another country, I just want to say that the official narrative about our history and about the history of buildings come in about 3 theories. Number 1, they built them like this with buried windows. Number 2, cultural level or buildup from many years covered up 8 meters of dirt over all the windows and ancient buildings worldwide. And number 3, all buildings settle. But somehow they settle in a way to where there's no cracks or any damage done to the buildings, and the buildings still look perfect and beautiful today. And also, guys, keep in mind that this is Manhattan. The sea level is horrible out here. So why would they build stuff underground? Wouldn't that make it bad in case of an ocean water rising or in case of a tsunami or something else? I don't think that would make any sense at all. Hey friends, check out this door. There's a human door where the humans walk, well, our sized humans. But then look how high it goes up. That space is huge. Do you think that's an old window or just a giant old door? Also, guys, check these beams out. I mean, these columns, these are humongous. You guys want to hear a little joke? I came up to a cop standing there guarding the door and I asked him, hey, are we in Rome or are we in the United States? He said, oh, I have no idea. So then I asked him, I was like, hey, what year was this building built in? And he said, I have no idea. So then I walked to the side and I see a plaque and it says 1902. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, like people live here and they don't even know the history of their own city. So obviously, with intensive research, you could learn a lot about the truth of this nation and the truth of these structures and architecture. And nobody really even cares. You live windows, 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 windows. Boom, there's a door cut out, and they put a door in there. Then more windows, 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 and another door. Check this out, guys. Um, looks like a backyard, and you go down the stairs, and you could see another window right there. Then it goes up, more windows, another window, and that's a deep window too. Very interesting. Man, I really hope I don't drop my phone out here. But more windows, as you guys can see, buried windows. Step aside and you see ground level, and then you see windows. Another window all around the building. If you move this brick wall here, I think there's going to be another story. What do you guys think? Man, my luck just got better. I found a construction site where there's excavation going on, similar to the stuff I seen in Russia, where the ground of an old building is being excavated, and you can clearly see the building going very deep down, and you could spot the difference of the colors in the brick from the dirt that's being removed that's been there for many years. And that's pretty deep. And here's the building. It's an antique big building. You could tell it's right here. So what does the official story say? Yes, there were soldiers and battles and wars. There was some kind of local tension, obviously, but not a single word was being said about a global catastrophe. Yeah, naked butt Indians lived out here. Sorry for the terms. But how would they build anything like these structures with the artifacts they left behind in these museums? They were basically wild savages. But we see gigantic buildings standing here before us. Guys, I'm not a professional builder, but a regular person can understand that these beautiful buildings with marble and columns were a lot harder to build than these metal and glass skyscrapers that are being built worldwide today. But anyways, guys, let's move on. It's getting dark. Oh my gosh, this thing is quick. This is Brighton Beach. No, it's not. No, it's not Brighton Beach. This ain't a beach. This is Emist Avenue. It's not too far from Brighton Beach. This ain't Brighton. A lot of cops everywhere here. Maybe you guys heard a few years back about a local from Brooklyn finding some human faces on rocks along the beach. They looked very closely like mythical Slavic gods. Also, there were signs of technological tool marks on the rocks. Obviously, when I arrived, I ran to try to find these and film them for you guys. Honestly, guys, when I searched around, I was very disappointed. Yes, I found some perfectly drilled holes, but they looked more like drillings that miners make when they try to crack huge rocks in half. I did some research and I found that the faces can show up when the tide backs off and the water leaves. I showed up in the morning and most of the beach was covered up with water, unfortunately. But I will go ahead and leave coordinates. If one of you guys can go out here and maybe take some pictures or film it and send it over to us for a future video, that would be much appreciated, guys. would mean a lot for the channel. Also, in the right corner, there's a link to Igor's channel. He has 3 whole films about the faces and interesting rocks on the Brooklyn beach. And finally, Brooklyn, the finale and the best part of the video. Brooklyn, we are here. The first steps showed the first surprises. This is a regular, typical American apartment. But remove all the banners off of the building, remove the antennas off the roof, and before you is an ancient Roman building. Also, a building for many people to stay at. 3rd century before our time, by the way. And they say everything changes over time, but here 1,000 years passed, and these are old residential buildings are exactly the same. And is this a Protestant church, just without the top domes? The locals say the choir here is just music to the ears. First thing I noticed was the classy architecture. The clock makes it look like a post office or some kind of a bank. But what are these 2 symbols? Who took the heads off of them? This isn't a commercial about apartments, by the way. This is just a replica of an ancient Rome structure. And who's this bearded man that looks like some kind of a Greek god? Bricks, bricks, and more bricks, and windows that somebody has buried. There's a movie about Russian Italians and some visitors that were being followed about St. Petersburg's lions. Is it me, or there's a whole lot of lions in Brooklyn? What does a lion mean? Well, due to some research, it shows that a lion means a higher up mystic religious symbol that became popular at about the time of Christ. As we can see, there is lions everywhere. According to ancient believers, they claim that the lions hides and removes all evil powers and spirits. When a lion is on top of a home, it shows that a believer or a Christian is living in that home. Weird. What do I do with the information that the Romans said about the lions? I thought it was a symbol of defeat over a Dracula, over a lion, or something like that. Again, some kind of weird historic nonsense. Anyways, this isn't an old building, I don't think, but the Roman symbols are super interesting. Check out the video. Lions everywhere. The vase looks like the symbols on the windows. It all looks very similar and very antique. Very cool, actually. Very interesting piece. This looks like it sat somewhere else and it was moved several times. You can see major cracks, and someone put it together very horribly. Looks like someone just put dirt inside it and it started to crack. The walls started cracking from the inside out. So they moved this, they put it together badly. It looks like they forgot some pieces, or did they not? Maybe this is added to the classic look. I have no idea. To be honest, this looks like an ancient fountain instead of some kind of flower plant holder made out of cast iron. These steps gave me a lot of emotions. Now with some extra time, I can analyze what I see here and what my camera picks up. First, usually beautiful decorated pillars like this means some kind of entrance. These pillars have tons of detail and different types of figures carved out. Normally, pillars like this are placed in front of a building, or like this. But here, nothing even close. It just feels like there should be something in the back, because this had to be an entrance at one point. I wonder what could have been there, and I wonder why it was removed. Secondly, the top part of the pedestal has a granite mini columns installed. Why? They could have had made it more simpler, but the master builders didn't care. How in the world did they even install these granite pieces? Send me your ideas in the comments below. But these granite mini columns are here for a specific reason. But anyways, let's get back to my walk through Brooklyn. I finally made my way to the Triumph Arch. This is a marble arch in the Grand Army Plaza. This was supposedly made in the memory of soldiers that defended this area against the Confederates in the Civil War. Supposedly it was copied and built like the Paris Triumph Arch by John Hanningway Duncan. And like always, it's a copy. The first brick was supposedly installed by the military general William Sherman. In 1892, the arch was officially opened by President Stephen Grover Cleveland. In the beginning, it looked more plain. At first, it had figures of Abraham Lincoln and General Wilson Grant. Over the next 9 years, more stuff was added. The top of the arch has a bronze Roman horse chariot. Also 2 angels with wings. The sides have an army and some soldiers. On top, it says Defenders of the Union, 1861 through 1865. I sat to myself and I thought, why did they use ancient Roman figures, and so much ancient designs on this ark. Honestly, it just looks like an ancient type of water pipe system that got covered with different decorations to cover up the actual structure and make it appear like it was built recently. There must be rainwater gathering in the top at all times. So again, an ancient obvious structure with a new story behind it. This piece here really made my day. A mixture of horses and men mixed all in a pile. Here's something interesting I will share about Triumph arcs. I recently learned that back in those days, these arcs had a specific purpose. When soldiers used to go to war, they committed a huge death crime by killing others, according to their religion, of course. On the way back from war, the priest couldn't visit each soldier since there were so much of them, so they put up these arcs, and the soldiers would walk through them on the way back from war, and supposedly their sins were cleared and cleansed. And that was the purpose of these arcs. As a library building that I came across, what do we see here? More ancient architecture, arcs, doors replaced as windows, and most importantly, more windows that were buried. Yep, this is how they built back in the day, I suppose. Check out this corner here. When you see it from one angle, it looks okay. Go around the corner and shebang, more windows that were buried, a door, and some foundation. Looks really odd. And all this is about 2 meters underground. Classic. Check this out, guys. Look at this stone. This is supposedly that same library building. I wonder what year this was built in. It looks more modern in the front, but that side that I just filmed is very old. And again, my friends, an ancient Roman style hotel. How do we get the tourist's eye off of these buildings? Well, make up some fake history and slap a sign on the wall with half of the truth on it. Yeah, that's how we built back in the day. Yes, of course. It was inspired by classic Rome. Everything from this brick, sure, was built in the 19th century, but everything below is obviously ancient. I mean, check out these chisel marks right below the sign here, where you can see a different strike from a hammer. Each different strike. But look at the rock foundation below. It looks so natural and more perfect. In the middle here, they made a perfectly straight brick, and then a lot of detailed design in the trims. In this area, did they run out of material, or did the boss decide not to pay up, so they just dropped the chisel? Anyways, it doesn't even matter. But it's funny how this area, they just didn't finish up, didn't finish the details, and just dropped it as is, even though there was minutes away from finishing up. So my friends, the backside of Brooklyn. So this looks like a regular building, but here in front, boom, check this out. It's like a drain below, but 2-3 meters down, more old ancient brick, and obviously a window right here. What is interesting, this is not the only one. There's several of them out here. Check it out. They removed the dirt and made some stairways to go down right here in this area, and some windows. But thank you, Brooklyn. Very nice. Here's a nicer area of Brooklyn. Looks like a regular luxury home. Looks like nothing special, but look below. Why would they build windows like that under the stairs? I mean, that's really interesting. And what do we have here, guys? More copies from ancient Rome? I have a good idea about this here. Friends, you've probably already noticed that the most popular and wide-range building designs worldwide was the ancient Rome architecture designs. But in fact, it looks exactly like the same thing everywhere worldwide, maybe with a few minor changes. But why do this? To cover up the ancient pre-flood? And say that everything was built recently? I mean, I don't know. They just built on top of old ruins and tricked everyone. I know this may be confusing at times, but I hope together we could understand the difference between the wheat and the weeds. Friends, look, another Greek figure. Some kind of a head with a helmet. I got an idea. Let's start taking pictures of these types of architectures worldwide and just start comparing it all. Compare the areas, the countries, the styles, the structures, and the continents. Why not? What really intrigued me here is the red brick that was just repainted into a horrible color, along with some of these ancient arcs. And before we get into the final idea for today, for the most biggest fans of mud flood research and fans of buried windows and structures and buildings, here is some photos from New York. So the biggest skeptics would stop assuming that they used to build like this in the past and that people just found these ruins and built on them. Yes, they built some structures back in the day, but it's obvious that they rebuilt old structures and use them for different things today and rename them as different things as well. This is an interesting cannon. This sucker got a famous name, the 12-pounder Napoleon model. This was the first heavy artillery that was used in the Civil War. Over the war, they built over 100 of these cannons. The Confederates used 27 of these Napoleon cannons, and the other side used about 108 cannons. The Federal side used 360 types of cannons, and about 142 were Napoleons. Each side loved this Napoleon beast. It was a good, strong, and reliable, especially for short distances. This was the last bronze weapon of the Confederate Army. The Confederate cannons had a wider barrel tip that was called a muzzle swell. The Napoleons and the Confederates had about 6 options that they usually had smooth muzzles, but there's 6 left over with a wide end muzzle. Something like this would shoot up to 80 to 100 yards, depending on the cannonball, of course. This info that I described will be very helpful in the future stuff we will be releasing. But on this note, my walk in Brooklyn is coming to an end. But ahead, we have seen some artillery cannons that in the War of 1812 easily defended the city from the coasts, and the strongest fleet of ships at that time couldn't even get close to its beaches. So according to all the maps and all the videos and pictures that I've seen, the rocks with the faces are supposed to be somewhere here in this area. But I'm not really sure where they're at. I'm looking and I'm searching and I can't find them. The holes that we seen earlier were obviously used for cracking the rocks in half. The pictures of those faces and those megalithic rocks were first found in 2013. But since then, a lot of time has passed from then, and I feel like the officials may have had plenty of time to get rid of them already. So unfortunately, we didn't find anything this time. So now my American trip has came to an end, unfortunately. We had a lot of material that we filmed. Several videos will be released, and we're already working on them as we speak. I just got a great idea. Instead of finding historical research and filming it for you guys, let me tell you a little bit about the people and the culture of the areas that I'm at. The Americans are a very interesting people. They are very welcoming, polite, and respectful. I was shocked when I showed up to get my rental and my car wasn't there. So they gave me a car that was 3 times better for no extra charge. I mean, it was amazing. They are great people and it's a great culture. I absolutely loved it. My name is John Connor. And if you like this video, please share, like, and subscribe. And more videos to come. Goodbye.